this is Jeremy from tubervideo.com and ddsvideo.com. Back in 2014, I started as a one-person operation, and thankfully the business has grown and I've needed to bring on creative professionals to help out with the workload. That includes video production professionals to help out on set, as well as video editors to help out with the post-production. Now, if you're interested in helping out with production as a member of the crew on set, working with cameras, lights, audio, and clients, I've created another video that describes who would be a good fit for those types of positions. You'll find that video on tubervideo.com on the jobs page of the website. You can also find that video on YouTube. This particular video is focused on post-production professionals, video editors who are looking to do some additional projects. So who exactly am I looking for? I'm looking for reliable editors who are talented, responsive, good communicators, people who are easy to work with. I want to work with creative professionals who have a solid work ethic, they've got good morals, they have integrity, they honor their commitments, and they have a can-do attitude. And they can expect the exact same thing from me. I'm also looking to work with editors who would be interested in and have the bandwidth to take on maybe 1 or 2 projects a month for a longer-term arrangement. You know, it's important that you respect and you like the people you work with, so I'll touch on personalities for just a second. I don't have an ego when it comes to the work that I'm doing. Let's be honest, I shoot videos, corporate videos for small businesses. I'm not a big shot, I don't pretend to be. Now, I have managed creative professionals and teams up to 6 people since the early 2000s, so I'm comfortable collaborating with others in the creative profession, and I hope those who I've worked with over the years would probably say that I've been supportive, I've been encouraging, I've been easy to work with, and I would hope and think that they would. I will try to make sure that you have everything as an editor that you need to be successful. I'm going to do what I can to make your life easier and definitely not harder. I'm going to make myself available to field questions, concerns, whatever you may have. I'll make sure that you have the guidance and the direction, but at the same time, this is important, I'm going to give you that creative freedom that you need and that you want without feeling like you're being micromanaged. I want to make sure that you feel valued, respected, and appreciated, and that's what you can expect from me. But as a last point here that I wanted to share that I've learned a long time ago, there are definitely aspects of the project that I want them done kind of the way that I want them done. And I'll be clear and upfront about those so you're well aware of them, but even before the project really starts. I'll expect that you follow those directions, but I've also learned that projects, they never come out completely or exactly the way that I have in my head, and that's okay. Like many of you, I've worked with colleagues, particularly ones who are not creative professionals, who absolutely nitpick every aspect of the project. I can't stand that. So I wanted you to know that that won't happen with me. I've learned to turn over creative reign to other professionals rather than micromanaging them to death. And there are certainly, to be honest, there are certainly things that I want a particular way in an edit, and I'll go to bat for those, but at the same time, I'll be respectful of your time, and I won't have you doing revision after revision. I want editors to be doing what they do best, and they can do it best without me figuratively standing over their shoulder and telling them what to do, and more important, how to do it. I just don't work that way. Now, I'd like to tell you that every shot, every transition, every decision that you make in the editing room with the footage that I have is a no-brainer, but we both know that that's not going to be reality. You know, you have to be able to think critically on your own. Oftentimes, you're kind of thinking and then working your way out of this editing pickle that you're in. I'm looking for editors, of course, who can do that. You know, sometimes when I am editing, I feel like I'm constantly solving problems or challenges. It's almost like I'm putting a puzzle together that's not always cooperative with me. So it's kind of part of what drives me as an editor, and I guess, and I hope, that you're the same way. Now, if you're wondering what type of person I am to work with, I have taken that Myers-Briggs personality test. I think you can find that on 16personalities.com as well if you're interested in it. I scored an INFJ, which is considered a diplomat and an advocate. That's someone who looks for fairness, equality, team collaboration. I treat people honestly, respectfully, fairly, and while I'm not perfect, I will do everything reasonably in my power to do what I say and say what I do. It's integrity and keeping my word, and that is important to me. I expect the same thing from professionals who I work with and I bring on the team. I ask that you keep your word and honor your agreements. If you commit to doing a project, I'll expect that you won't flake out. If you agree to a deadline, I'll expect that you meet it. I know that life happens, but it is important to me that if I've given my word to a client, let's say a deadline, that I deliver when I say that I will. So if you're not entirely sure that you have the time, the energy, or the enthusiasm to take on a project, that's okay. I just ask that you allow someone else to pick up the work rather than gamble that you might have the time, you might have the energy, enthusiasm to kind of finish it up. One last note about personalities. I'm definitely looking for creative pros who take pride in their work. They don't cut corners. And it's not because they're afraid or fearful that somebody's going to catch it. They don't cut corners because their name is attached to the project and they want to do a good job. When an editor sends me a cut and asks, "What do you think?" Of course, I'm happy to provide my thoughts and feedback, but part of me wants to ask them, do you like the cut? Are you happy with it? One last thing I'll share is I can always spot when somebody's gone the extra mile in an edit. They've thrown in a little digital magic. I always appreciate that, and I'll let you know that I spotted it. Okay, and moving on to your background and your experience, this work is definitely not for up-and-coming editors looking to learn on the job. If that's where you are in your career, I certainly respect it. I've been there before, and of course, we're all still learning. But I'm expecting you to have edited a fair number of projects, maybe 25 or more. Not a specific number there, but you have an advanced skill level with Adobe Premiere, and you have a competent skill level with After Effects and Audition. My genuine apologies to Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve users. I hate to make this a deal breaker, but I really do need editors to be proficient in Adobe's Creative Suite. One quick note about After Effects. While I'm not asking editors to be an expert in using After Effects, I do need you to be experienced in using After Effects templates that can be acquired from sites like Envato, I think it's Video Hive there, or Motion Array. I don't incorporate custom or overly intricate motion graphics, but in just about every video I do, I've got lower thirds and I've got an outro video graphic with some of the logos and such. So it's important that you have some experience with those After Effects templates. And by the way, of course, I'm going to supply those templates so you don't have to. Regarding Adobe Audition, I'd expect that you can at least you've got basic knowledge about how to clean up and sweeten audio, but I definitely don't need you to be an expert with this program. The audio we provide is also usually pretty clean, so that should help out as well. Because the work that I do is kind of a specific niche, it is corporate video, for the most part anyway. I'm looking for an editor, not surprisingly, who has experience and enjoys doing corporate video post-production work. I know sci-fi shorts, zombie movies, even music videos might for some people be a lot more enjoyable, but those aren't really the type of projects that I do. And that's not to say that if you haven't done any corporate video editing, you can't, but you certainly will have an advantage over other editors if you have some examples that are similar to the projects that I film. I'm going to look for video editors who have at least a couple of editing examples that are, again, somewhat similar to the type of projects that I film. Okay, so I finally got to the section that is on everyone's mind. It would be on my mind as well if I was in your position. It's compensation as well as turnaround time. And I'll start with turnaround time because it's pretty much cut and dry. Unless there are extenuating circumstances, I'm going to look to have that first edit turned around within a week or less after the editor has received the files. So we'll be looking to have that final edit completed within 2 weeks. By the way, I'll provide very quick feedback on the cuts that are sent to me. I know that when I delay, it delays the project as well. So planning on getting a project wrapped up within 2 weeks, definitely no longer than 3 weeks. And again, unless there are extenuating circumstances. Now, moving on to compensation, when I wrote the script for the video, I actually provided a specific range that I needed to stay within. But the more I thought about it, the more I wasn't sure it was a great idea, because with the labor market, compensation, it's always changing. And because I want to stay competitive, I want to remain competitive and pay editors what is fair and an attractive rate as well, I didn't want to record and then have to re-edit this video after I adjusted my budget, and I know that you could certainly appreciate that. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, look down in the description and you'll see what my current budget is. If you're watching this video on my website on tubervideo.com or ddsvideo.com, just look down in the content, you'll be able to see it as well. As far as what I'm looking to pay, I always want to pay everyone a fair rate. I don't want to beat an editor down on price, and at the same time, I really don't want an editor to try to gouge me or kind of nickel and dime me to death. Ultimately, I guess what I'm looking for is a win-win relationship, and I hope that you're going to be looking for the same thing. For editors who do charge more than what I have budgeted, in some cases notably more than kind of what I'm paying, I certainly understand and respect your need to charge what you feel your time is worth. But if my budget really doesn't align what you're looking for, you'll probably want to pass on working with me. I don't do an incredible amount of negotiating. Definitely no hurt feelings. I just want to be fair to all editors. who work with me. So I'm not going to pay one editor one rate and then another editor a different rate because they've negotiated things. It's not a used car lot, and I want to be fair to everybody. That's really all I had to cover regarding compensation, but if you do have questions or concerns, I'm happy to chat with you about them. In this next section, I just wanted to touch briefly on what you can expect when helping me out on a post-production project. First thing is, I hope you'll be happy to hear this. I'm not going to drop a hot mess on you and expect you to figure it out all on your own. Instead, I'm going to work with you to make sure that you have all of your questions, your concerns, they're all fielded before you actually start the project. I usually record a 5 to 10 minute voice file that covers all of the project parameters before everything kicks off. And of course, I'm available to field any follow-up questions, concerns that arise during the process. I am here to help, so never hesitate to ask me anything that's on your mind. Second thing is, you can always expect that I'm going to provide honest, helpful, encouraging, quick, and thorough feedback so you can keep moving. I'll also look to make you as successful and as efficient as you can be. I don't want to make your workflow hard, so I'm open to new ideas. If you have suggestions on how we can improve workflow, I'm at least open to listening, and we can see if those things can be incorporated. Next, from a production standpoint, we'll do our best to hold our shots, give you smooth, usable footage, and provide you with options, multiple camera angles for your edit. I'll do my best to edit as I'm shooting, which is kind of a phrase that we all hear from time to time. Last, you can expect a professional but very friendly vibe from me. And I always want to make sure that you feel valued and you feel respected. Okay, so based on what you've kind of seen and you've heard in this video, if you feel that we might be a fit to work together, here's what I'm going to ask you to do next. Check out a handful of videos we have at tubervideo.com. Get kind of a feel for the editing style and the pacing as well. Based on what you see there, if you feel that you have a similar style and you can either match or improve the quality of the edits, we might want to consider a dialogue. Feel free to drop me a line after you've looked at a couple of those examples. And I get it. Look, I know that your time is valuable, but I found the best way to determine if an editor has the desire and experience to cut videos for me is to have them review the work that I've done, and then they can make kind of an honest, candid decision on whether they kind of want to do that type of work and whether they have the experience and meet or exceed the quality of the editing that I'm kind of expecting. I've reviewed demo reels over the years, but the problem with them is that there really isn't any specificity as to what the role or roles that the person who submitted them, they were responsible for. So in completing those projects, I'm never really sure if they did all of the work, or if they just maybe held a boom pole, or what they ended up doing, or they just did some motion graphics. It's really not a good use of my time. So if you'll indulge me, review a couple of examples that we have on the site at tubervideo.com, and then honestly ask yourself, is this the type of work that you want to do? And second, can you meet or exceed the quality of the editing that you reviewed? If you find that we have different editing styles, or you don't really enjoy the type of corporate videos that I do, that's okay. I would just definitely suggest maybe just passing on working together, and that's okay. There's not a problem with that. I know there are a lot of talented editors who don't even like doing corporate video, so it's no worries. I just, what I'm doing, I know it's not a fit for everyone. As a last point, I'd love to help editors kind of gain experience, but again, this really isn't a learn-as-you-go opportunity. I need someone who can edit as good as, preferably, ideally, they're better than me, and I've never claimed to be a great editor. I guess I'm respectable, and I still have a lot of learning and improving to do. What's most important to me is that future edits don't look and feel so much different that clients, they kind of notice that somebody else is editing them, and that's kind of why I'm asking you to review some of the work that we have at tubervideo.com first before kind of engaging in a dialogue. And I appreciate you honoring that as kind of part of my process. I thank you for watching this video. If you've gotten all the way through it, best wishes to you.